Imagine a life where you wake up every day without the weight of other people's opinions pressing down on you. A life where your peace isn't dictated by every criticism, every disappointment, or every small inconvenience. What if I told you that learning to act like you don't care when it's not worth it could be your key to mental freedom and emotional strength? We live in a world that constantly demands our attention, our emotions, and our approval. We are bombarded with opinions, judgments, and distractions designed to pull us in a million different directions. It's exhausting. But what if the secret to peace, confidence, and success is simply learning how to step back, hold your ground, and not let everything affect you? Emotional detachment is not about shutting down or becoming cold-hearted. It's about gaining control over your emotional responses so that you don't become a slave to every little thing that happens around you. In life, many of us react immediately and intensely to situations, words, or events that may not deserve that much of our emotional energy. Learning to step back and not let every circumstance affect your emotions is one of the most powerful skills you can develop. It's a skill that allows you to maintain your peace, protect your mental health, and respond with clarity rather than chaos. Think about how often you find yourself stressed, anxious, or angry over things that, in the grand scheme of life, are minor or temporary. Maybe it's a harsh comment from a colleague, a disappointing result, or a social media post that rubs you the wrong way. The problem isn't just the external event, it's the way your emotions instantly escalate and take control. This emotional hijacking pulls you away from calm thinking and leads to impulsive reactions. Reactions you often regret later. But what if you had the power to pause? What if instead of reacting in the moment, you could choose not to let the situation penetrate your emotional core? That is the essence of emotional detachment. It means observing the situation, recognizing your feelings, but refusing to allow them to dictate your behavior. It's the ability to care selectively, to decide when something is truly worthy of your emotional investment and when it's better to let it slide. Emotional detachment helps you see things more clearly. When you are overly attached emotionally, your perspective becomes clouded. Your thoughts get entangled with your feelings, and it's hard to think logically or make good decisions. But when you create a healthy distance, you gain clarity, you can analyze the situation objectively, weigh your options, and respond in a way that serves you best rather than being controlled by momentary impulses. This skill is especially important in relationships and social interactions. Often, conflicts arise because people take things personally, feel slighted, or get defensive. You learn to act like you don't care about every minor criticism or slight. You're not being indifferent. You're protecting yourself from unnecessary pain and drama. You're allowing others' words or actions to pass over you without leaving a mark. This doesn't mean you ignore constructive feedback or refuse to address serious problems, but you recognize the difference between what deserves your attention and what doesn't. Emotional detachment also acts as a shield against negativity. In today's world, negativity is everywhere. News cycles full of fear and anxiety, toxic social media interactions, workplace stress, and interpersonal conflicts. When you are emotionally detached, you don't absorb that negativity. You keep your mental space clean. You don't carry around other people's anger, jealousy, or frustration. Instead, you focus on your own peace and well-being. It is important to note that emotional detachment is a learned skill. It doesn't happen overnight. It requires practice and mindfulness. You begin by becoming aware of your emotional triggers, those moments when your feelings flare up uncontrollably. Then, You practice stepping back in those moments, taking a breath, and reminding yourself that not everything deserves your emotional energy. You may even ask yourself, will this matter in a week, a month, a year? If the answer is no, then you give yourself permission to let it go. This approach doesn't make you unfeeling. In fact, it frees you to feel deeply about the things that truly matter. When you're not weighed down by every minor upset, you have more emotional capacity to love, support, and engage fully where it counts: your family, your goals, your personal growth. Emotional detachment is about focusing your care where it will have the greatest impact rather than scattering your energy everywhere. Ultimately, emotional detachment is a form of self-respect. It's saying to yourself, my peace matters. My mental health matters. I will not be a hostage to every slight or setback. It's a boundary you set for your emotions, a choice to protect your inner world from unnecessary turmoil. And when you master this, you become stronger, more resilient, and more in control of your life. So the next time you feel yourself spiraling into anger, hurt, or anxiety over something small or out of your control, remember this: you have the power to choose your response. You can learn to act like you don't care, at least about the things that don't deserve your care. And in doing so, you reclaim your peace, your power, and your freedom. In life, the difference between success and failure, peace and chaos, often comes down to how we respond to the challenges and provocations we face every day. Most people think they are in control of their lives, but in reality, many of us are controlled by our immediate emotional reactions. We react impulsively, sometimes with anger, frustration, anxiety, or fear, without stopping to think about the consequences. But there is a profound power in learning how to control your reactions, choosing how you respond rather than simply reacting. To understand this, imagine a situation where someone says something hurtful or unfair to you. The natural, almost automatic response might be to snap back, to argue, or to feel deeply wounded. That's a reaction. An unfiltered, emotional eruption driven by instinct and habit. Reactions are often fast and uncontrolled. They come from a place where reason and reflection take a back seat to emotion. They can lead to conflict, regret, and unnecessary pain. Now imagine a different response. Instead of immediately reacting, you take a moment to breathe, to assess the situation calmly. You ask yourself, what is really going on here? Does this deserve my energy? How can I respond in a way that benefits me? This is not suppressing your emotions or pretending nothing happened. It's about being intentional and deliberate in how you choose to respond. This shift from reaction to response is a game changer. It moves you from being controlled by external events to being in control of your internal state. Mastering your reactions is not about denying your feelings. It's about recognizing them, understanding where they come from, and then deciding whether to act on them immediately or to hold space and choose a better course of action. It's like driving a car. Your emotions may be passengers riding along, but you're the driver, steering where the journey goes. If you allow your emotions to steer, you might crash into conflict or distress. If you take the wheel firmly, you can navigate through challenges with clarity and calm. One of the most important reasons to control your reactions is that it empowers you to maintain your peace and dignity. When you react impulsively, you often give others power over your emotions and behavior. A careless word or an unfair action can unsettle you, and suddenly you're acting in ways that don't reflect your true values or goals. But when you control your reaction, you take back that power. You refuse to be a puppet to someone else's negativity or a stressful situation. Instead, you choose to remain steady, grounded, and composed. This ability to respond rather than react also improves your relationships. Reacting impulsively often escalates conflicts and creates misunderstandings. When you learn to pause and respond thoughtfully, you open space for communication, empathy, and resolution. People respect those who can stay calm under pressure and handle difficult conversations with grace. It sets a tone that diffuses tension rather than fuels it. In practical terms, mastering your reactions requires developing emotional awareness and self-control. Emotional awareness means tuning into what you're feeling without immediately acting on it. This can be challenging because emotions often come with a sense of urgency, demanding immediate attention. But by practicing mindfulness, pausing to observe your feelings, you create a moment of choice. That moment is where your power lies. It's the moment when you can decide, will I let this control me or will I control it? Self-control is a muscle that grows stronger the more you use it. At first, it may feel unnatural or difficult to hold back a reaction. You might worry that you're suppressing yourself or not being authentic. But controlling your reaction is not about denial. It's about discipline and wisdom. It's choosing to act in ways that serve your long-term peace and goals rather than satisfying a short-term emotional urge. Over time, this practice leads to greater emotional resilience. You become less shaken by criticism, setbacks, or provocations because you've trained yourself to respond with calm and thoughtfulness. Your mind becomes a place of refuge rather than a battleground. You gain confidence in your ability to handle whatever life throws your way. The beauty of learning to control your reactions is that it's accessible to everyone. You don't need special circumstances or external approval. It starts with small moments, choosing to breathe before replying to an angry text, deciding not to engage in gossip, refusing to escalate an argument. Each choice builds your skill and your freedom. Ultimately, controlling your reactions is an act of self-mastery. It shows that you value your peace and well-being above temporary emotional storms. It's a declaration that you will not be swept away by every tide of feeling or opinion. Instead, you stand firm, measured, and deliberate, and that changes everything. So next time you face a provocation or a challenge, remember you always have a choice. You can react impulsively and lose control, or you can pause, breathe, and respond with intention. Choose the latter. Master this skill, and you'll unlock a life where you hold the power over your emotions, and in turn, over your destiny. Building mental strength is one of the most important and empowering things you can do for yourself in life. It's the ability to remain steady and strong no matter what storms rage around you. Mental strength doesn't mean you don't feel pain, disappointment, or frustration. Instead, it means you don't let those feelings overwhelm you or dictate the course of your life. It's about cultivating resilience, the capacity to recover quickly from difficulties, setbacks, and criticism without losing your sense of self or your direction. One of the biggest challenges to mental strength is how easily people are swayed by the opinions of others. Human beings are naturally social creatures. We want to be accepted, liked, and respected. Because of this, we often place far too much importance on what other people think of us. We become overly concerned with approval, praise, or the fear of rejection. When your sense of self depends heavily on outside validation, you lose control over your emotional well-being. A single harsh word, a moment of exclusion, or negative feedback can knock you off balance and shake your confidence. Developing mental strength means breaking free from this dependency on external approval. It means learning to value your own judgment and inner voice above the noisy chorus of others' opinions. This is not arrogance or pride. It's a healthy confidence rooted in knowing who you are and what you stand for. When you are mentally strong, you don't need constant reassurance because your foundation is built from within. You know your worth, your values, and your goals, and these guide you regardless of outside noise. Another major factor in mental strength is how you handle external circumstances, especially those that are difficult or beyond your control. Life is unpredictable. Challenges, failures, and unexpected changes are inevitable. You cannot always control what happens around you, but you can control how you respond. Mental strength is about accepting this reality and choosing to focus on what you can influence instead of wasting energy on what you can't. This mindset leads to resilience. Resilience is not just about enduring hardship, it's about growing through it. Mentally strong people see obstacles as opportunities to learn and improve. Instead of being defeated by setbacks, they analyze what went wrong, adjust their strategies, and keep moving forward with determination. This attitude is crucial because the path to any meaningful goal is rarely smooth. Mental strength turns failure into feedback and adversity into fuel. Building mental strength also means developing emotional regulation. This ties closely to not letting others' opinions or external events sway you easily. When you are emotionally regulated, you can acknowledge difficult feelings like disappointment, anger, or sadness without letting them take control. You experience these emotions but don't get trapped by them. This allows you to make better decisions, maintain your focus, and act in your best interest even in tough situations. The process of building mental strength is ongoing. It requires consistent effort and practice. It starts with self-awareness, recognizing when you're reacting too strongly to others' opinions or letting circumstances shake your peace. From there, you work on shifting your perspective and strengthening your inner resolve. Practices such as mindfulness, journaling, and positive self-talk can help reinforce this mental muscle. Over time, you become less vulnerable to external pressures and more anchored in your own sense of stability. One important part of this journey is learning to set boundaries. When you're mentally strong, you know when to say no and when to distance yourself from people or environments that drain your energy or undermine your confidence. This is not about cutting off others arbitrarily, but about protecting your mental space so you can thrive. Boundaries create a safe zone where your mental strength can grow without unnecessary interference. Another element is embracing a growth mindset, the belief that your abilities and character can be developed through effort and learning. This outlook fosters resilience by encouraging you to view challenges as temporary and surmountable rather than permanent roadblocks. When setbacks come, you see them as part of the process rather than signs of failure. This mindset is fundamental to maintaining mental strength over the long haul. Ultimately, mental strength leads to greater freedom. When you are not easily swayed by others' opinions or external circumstances, you live on your own terms. You make choices that align with your true self, rather than trying to please everyone else. This freedom creates confidence and peace, as you are no longer burdened by the constant need for validation or control over every situation. Imagine how much more fulfilling life can be when you face criticism without crumbling, when setbacks don't derail your progress, and when your happiness isn't dependent on what others think. That's the power of mental strength. It gives you the ability to stand firm through life's challenges and to keep moving forward with courage and clarity. So, as you move through life, remember that building mental strength is a deliberate, ongoing process. It's about learning to rely on your inner voice, accepting what you cannot control, and growing stronger through every experience. With mental strength, you become unshakable, grounded, and ready to face whatever comes your way. In a world filled with constant distractions, noise, and endless demands on our time and attention, learning to focus on priorities is one of the most valuable skills you can develop. Many people fall into the trap of spreading themselves too thin, giving energy to everything that comes their way, including trivial problems, minor annoyances, and distractions that add little or no real value to their lives. This scattered approach leads to stress, burnout, and a sense of being overwhelmed. The key to a more peaceful and productive life lies in shifting your focus to what truly matters. Focusing on priorities means intentionally deciding where to direct your energy, time, and emotion. It means recognizing that not all problems deserve your attention, and not all tasks are equally important. There will always be urgent things demanding your response. Emails to answer, messages to read, people to please. But the most successful, fulfilled people are those who can distinguish between what is urgent and what is important, and choose to invest their resources in the latter. You focus on priorities. You protect yourself from being overwhelmed by the endless stream of small, insignificant problems that can easily consume your mental space. Think about how many times your day is derailed by minor frustrations, traffic jams, a rude comment, an unexpected change in plans. If you let every one of these moments take up your emotional bandwidth, you lose sight of your bigger goals and your peace of mind. Shifting your attention away from these distractions means you save your energy for the things that truly contribute to your growth, happiness, and success. This shift in focus requires clarity about your values and goals. What matters most to you? What are the non-negotiables in your life? When you have a clear sense of your priorities, it becomes easier to say no to distractions and trivial concerns. You can evaluate situations through the lens of these priorities and ask yourself, does this align with what really matters? Will this help me move closer to my goals or improve my well-being? If the answer is no, you give yourself permission to let it go. Focusing on priorities also means learning to set boundaries. Boundaries are essential for protecting your time and mental energy from unnecessary drain. When you say yes to everything, you're actually saying no to your most important goals and to your own peace. Boundaries help you create space to focus on what truly deserves your care and effort. This could mean limiting time on social media, avoiding toxic conversations, or delegating tasks that others can handle. Every boundary you set is an act of self-respect and a step toward a more focused and fulfilling life. Another important aspect of focusing on priorities is managing your emotional investment. Many people expend too much emotional energy on things that are beyond their control or insignificant in the long run. Stressing over what others think, replaying past mistakes, or worrying about hypothetical scenarios drains your mental resources. When you learn to act like you don't care about these less important issues, you conserve your emotional energy for what truly requires your attention. This doesn't mean you become indifferent to everything. Rather, you choose wisely where to invest your feelings. This practice also helps you develop a stronger sense of presence. When your mind is cluttered with worries about minor details or irrelevant problems, you miss out on fully experiencing the moment. By focusing on your priorities, you can be more present in your relationships, your work, and your daily life. This presence increases your effectiveness and your ability to appreciate the good things around you. It's important to understand that focusing on priorities is not a one-time decision, but a continuous process. Every day presents new challenges and demands, and your ability to stay focused requires regular reflection and adjustment. You might find it helpful to make daily or weekly lists of priorities, revisit your goals often, and remind yourself what truly matters. This ongoing attention to priorities keeps you on track and prevents you from drifting into distractions. The payoff for learning to focus on priorities is enormous. When you concentrate your efforts on what matters, you achieve more meaningful results. You reduce stress because you're not overwhelmed by endless trivial worries. You feel more in control of your life, confident in your decisions, and peaceful in your mind. Prioritizing allows you to make progress on your goals without burning out and to live a life that feels purposeful and balanced. Imagine what your life could look like if you stopped letting minor annoyances and distractions dictate your mood and your actions. Imagine the peace and satisfaction of knowing you are investing your energy in things that truly matter to you. Your health, your relationships, your dreams. That's the power of focusing on priorities. So start today by asking yourself what really deserves your care and energy. Practice letting go of the small stuff. Set clear boundaries to protect your time and attention. Shift your focus to your true priorities and watch how your life transforms into a more peaceful, productive, and fulfilling journey. Emotional detachment is a concept often misunderstood as being cold or indifferent, but in reality, it is a powerful and necessary skill for maintaining mental and emotional well-being. It involves the ability to experience emotions without being overwhelmed or controlled by them. It means not letting every situation, every word, or every event dictate your emotional state or steal your peace. In a world filled with constant demands and emotional triggers, learning to practice emotional detachment is one of the most important tools for living a balanced and healthy life. We live in a culture that encourages us to react emotionally to everything, to take things personally, to get upset over minor offenses, to carry grudges or anxieties for days or even months. This habitual emotional reactivity can become exhausting and harmful. When you allow yourself to be emotionally hijacked by every slight criticism or stressful situation, you lose control over your happiness and your peace of mind. Emotional detachment is about reclaiming that control. To practice emotional detachment means to develop the ability to observe your feelings objectively without immediately reacting to them. It's like watching a storm from inside a safe shelter. You acknowledge the intensity of the storm, but you don't get swept away by the winds and rain. When something happens that would normally upset you, instead of immediately reacting, you pause and create space between the event and your emotional response. This space allows you to choose how much energy you want to invest in that emotion and how you want to respond. This skill is vital because not every situation deserves your emotional energy. Life will inevitably throw challenges, criticisms, and disappointments your way, but not all of them require you to engage deeply or take them personally. Emotional detachment allows you to filter what matters and what doesn't. It helps you preserve your energy for things that are truly important to you and your well-being. Instead of being drained by every minor conflict or negative comment, you learn to let those things pass without disturbance. Another crucial aspect of emotional detachment is the protection it offers against emotional exhaustion and burnout. Constantly reacting to every emotional trigger can leave you drained, anxious, and overwhelmed. Emotional detachment helps create boundaries between you and the external world, so you don't absorb every negative energy around you. This is especially important in today's fast-paced, hyper-connected world where news cycles, social media, and personal interactions can bombard you with negativity and stress. By detaching, You protect your inner peace and maintain your mental clarity. It's important to emphasize that emotional detachment doesn't mean ignoring your feelings or suppressing them. Instead, it's about acknowledging your emotions without letting them control you. You feel what you feel, but you don't let those feelings dictate your decisions or actions impulsively. This emotional regulation is a sign of strength, not weakness. It allows you to respond to situations with calmness and wisdom rather than with reactive intensity. Emotional detachment also improves your relationships. When you're overly attached to how others perceive you or overly reactive to conflicts, relationships can become strained and exhausting. But when you practice detachment, you can engage with others without being controlled by fear of rejection, criticism, or disappointment. You interact from a place of strength and calm, which often leads to healthier, more balanced connections. Developing emotional detachment is a gradual process that requires self-awareness and practice. It begins by noticing your emotional triggers, those moments when your feelings spike unexpectedly or you feel overwhelmed. When you recognize these moments, you can practice pausing and breathing, reminding yourself that you have the choice in how to respond. Over time, this pause becomes a habit and you gain greater control over your emotional life. The benefits of emotional detachment are profound. It brings peace of mind, reduces unnecessary suffering, and strengthens your resilience. When you don't let every situation affect you emotionally, you free yourself from the constant roller coaster of highs and lows. You become more stable, more grounded, and better equipped to handle life's ups and downs. Imagine living your life with this kind of emotional freedom, being able to face difficulties without falling apart, to hear criticism without taking it as a personal attack, and to move through daily life without being weighed down by every minor frustration. That is the power of emotional detachment. It allows you to maintain your peace and your power no matter what life throws at you. So, start practicing emotional detachment today. Notice when your emotions begin to surge and remind yourself that you don't have to be controlled by them. Create space between events and your reactions. Choose what deserves your emotional energy and what doesn't. In doing so, you will protect your peace, strengthen your mind, and gain a freedom that many spend their lives searching for.